Ladies and gentlemen, diet breaks don't work, and you should use them anyways. Here are 5 psychological reasons why, even if diet breaks don't boost your metabolism, you should still do them. So, if you're interested in that or anything else bodybuilding and bodybuilding psychology related, hit subscribe and let's get to it. Alrighty, folks, for this episode, I'm going to link the papers that I'll be citing and referencing during this video. But the number one thing, first off, is going to be that diet breaks are going to help boost your mood and decrease irritability. Let's face it, one of the things that sort of can impact your contest preparation is your mood and your mood fluctuations. So if engaging in a diet break allows you to maintain a more stable or elevated mood, then why not engage in it even if it doesn't help necessarily boost your metabolism? I think one of the big things for me in diet breaking is, well, one, it helps me look forward to something that I'm going to get in the near future. So that kind of acutely boosts my motivation. But also when I'm there, the ingestion of those extra carbohydrates, that really does help the mood and irritability that I'm experiencing, especially if I'm going to be diet breaking for a long period of time. For the purposes of this video, we want to distinguish between diet breaks and refeeds. And refeeds are something that you can engage in along with the diet breaks. For me, I engage in one refeed day a week now. I don't think that does anything magical for fat loss. I just prefer a day when I get a little bit of higher carbohydrates. Now, this is all factored in to my overall calorie deficit. So it's not like I get an unrestricted sort of eating day, but it's sort of a higher calorie day. And so that's a refeed day, or you can have a couple refeed days back to back, or some athletes I know of have multiple refeed days throughout their week, especially the closer they sort of get to their contest date. Now, a diet break, for the purposes of this video, what I mean by a diet break is anything that is a week or longer that brings you back up to maintenance calories. Now, maintenance calories is something that you can explore and figure out for yourself. However, I think a good maintenance point is to take from where you were. Let's say you're at 3,000 calories, you're down to 1,200, and you meet somewhere halfway in the middle. So the difference there, that's like 1,800 calories. Chop that in half, 900 onto your 1,200. That sort of brings you back up to around 2,200. It's going to be slightly different for everybody else. You aren't you aren't going to get it entirely wrong if you do it that way. But I think the only thing you could do wrong here is to, by diet breaking, just completely have unrestricted eating for a period of time, which will, I mean, it'll feel nice at the time, but you will also, in terms of your fat loss, put fat back on so quickly that it's not really even that funny. So just wanted to clarify that. Let's move on to point number 2. Number 2 thing that a diet break can do is restore training, drive, and motivation. I think we know that as we diet, we continue to diet for longer and longer, our glycogen stores get depleted, especially if, again, this is when we were in a calorie deficit. Don't really need to think about diet breaks or anything like that when you're in a surplus. That's ridiculous. So since we are in a deficit, our glycogen stores get depleted because we are ingesting fewer and fewer carbohydrates. Acute sort of breaks from those dieting phases and increasing the amount of carbohydrates that we take in, that is going to be beneficial towards our training. And it's also going to enhance our subjective sense of how well we are performing in the gym, which then downstream will enhance our motivation to perform that week and beyond. Now, again, the only downsides here really is that's going to be short term or shortly lived, because once you sort of get off of that diet break and sort of transition back into your dieting phase, that motivation can kind of wane. But if you have planned out sort of your dieting phase for long enough, you can incorporate multiple diet breaks throughout and make the entire process, subjectively at least, feel a little bit easier. Moving on to number 3. So remember at the beginning of this, I said you should engage in diet breaks regardless of whether or not they boost metabolism. And that is because it is going to reduce hunger and diet fatigue. And I think this is one of the bigger things that can pull a person out of a diet and make them not successful in what it is they're trying to accomplish as far as their body composition goals. Once that hunger builds up, you're unable to get satiated. You don't feel as full and you're more hungry, sort of. So there is that dichotomy there. I am not only hungry, but I am less able to get full with the amount of foods that I am taking in. Your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors begin to change once you hit a certain body fat level. And then also you begin having cravings, and you don't become as satiated after your meals. So the longer your diet, the stronger those hunger signals are going to get. And if you don't have a very particular set of skills to help you manage those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors around those hunger signals, dieting is going to be very, very hard, and you may have to stop your diet altogether. So, the number three thing, again, people who engage in diet breaks report lower hunger, better satiety, and less irritability. Again, sort of back to that mood piece. And this can make the dieting feel more tolerable, at least in the short, sort of acute term. Coming to number four, this is sort of the overall picture for the entirety of this video, better adherence rates and lower dropout rates. Now, I know I've already mentioned these things, but if you engage in a diet break, this does add to the length of the diet. I think in the studies that I'm going to link down below, whenever you sort of match diet breaks with just continuous dieting and no diet breaks, the amount of fat loss is roughly equivalent. However, it's going to take a longer amount of time for the people who engaged in the diet break as opposed to the people who just used continuous dieting. So there are some trade-offs there. So if you are doing dieting for 6 to 8 weeks, probably no reason to engage in a diet break of any kind like that. But maybe if you're going, the 16 weeks to 24 weeks, absolutely, maybe building in 2, 3 diet breaks. Honestly, probably like 2 diet breaks where you take an entire week and you don't go completely off plan. As a matter of fact, these things are planned in, more so back to an estimated maintenance level of calories. For me personally, I also like to drop protein a little bit and keep my fats roughly about where they're at, just because the point is to sort of help replenish glycogen and then fuel training performance. But back to the main point. So studies like the IceCap study found that people who engaged in diet breaks were able to maintain being in a dieting phase for longer. So your adherence to your diet is going to be enhanced if you engage in diet breaks, and especially if your diet is going to be longer than, 12, 16 weeks. Now, the last and best thing that I really enjoy about diet breaks is the fact that they are going to help with uncontrolled or binge eating. Now, this is really cool. And I said, I think this is the coolest thing, even though that, better adherence to the program is also very awesome. I think the fact that individuals tend to eat over plan less and binge less when they build in diet breaks is probably one of the best benefits. So when you think about this, if you build in diet breaks into your dieting phase, you're going to be able to attenuate a lot of the psychological effects, and you're going to have less of a risk of binge eating, and you're going to be more likely to adhere to your plan. It's all a perfect storm for helping you get from point A to point B in your fat loss. This also means that when you are done with your dieting phase, you can take your diet break, place that at the end of your dieting phase, and use that as the first stack or first part of your reverse out or recovery strategy so that you don't engage in overeating or binge eating, because it just becomes another phase of the diet. So, folks, diet breaks aren't perfect. And, even if they do show modest benefits to boosting your metabolism, that is not the reason you should do it. There are these little psychological oases? Oasis. Oasis? They're these psychological pit stops that you can engage in that allows you to improve your adherence, decrease the risk of overeating, and improve some of the acute mood states that you're going through while you're engaging in sort of this long-term dieting phase. Folks, this is just my opinion. I have used diet breaks successfully to help sort of attenuate some of the mental distress that comes along with long-term dieting, and I've enjoyed it. I also use refeeds at the same time, 1 day a week, and those are also very helpful. So if you all find diet breaks helpful or not helpful, shoot it down in the comments. Let me know why you think it's helpful or not helpful. And if you're interested in anything bodybuilding or bodybuilding psychology related, hit subscribe, and I will see you all in the next episode.